We're down here chatting with Jon Barinholtz, a sentence I was not expecting to say this time last week. We are talking about American Auto and other things. Jon, thanks for your time. It's a pleasure to meet you.
Yes, of course, of course. Happy to be here. Thanks for having
Well,
me.
I'm so excited. This show is so much fun. I mean, I've loved watching you on all of your projects, but this show is really funny. Your cast is just the best. You play, I mean, the characters you play are all very different, but you seem to really have a seat. I shouldn't say scene. You do have a sweet spot when it comes to comedy and just really that humor that's not, it's going to sound strange, not funny just to be funny, but funny that drives the story along. Does that make sense? And I'm curious, how does that process work for you and your brother both? I mean, it's like, it makes sense. It adds to the story.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for saying that. It's very kind of you. I think it comes from it's the fine tuning that comes from a background of getting started in improv comedy, which is where both of us came from, as opposed to stand up, which is a little different. Different approaches of a way in for a joke, and I think improv is really good at making sure you're finding the edge for characters that can be finding the edge where they exist between funny and real. Have them be the vehicle of a real person that can say something ridiculous with it still seeming believable. I think is the sweet spot for that, and it just coming up watching people that we love do that same work is at least where I got it. So I guess it's just being a copycat. But coming up, watching people like Carell in The Office, or frankly Gervais in the original Office. These to name two of the same type of character. These folks who are able to do that and seem very real, and you probably wouldn't want to hang out with them, but you'd want to watch someone else hang out with them.
That's funny. I would imagine, I don't know. I think the world of improv is so fascinating. And I've had other, folks on who have done both. Maybe they've dabbled in stand-up a little bit. Did that ever interest you at all at any part of your journey?
I did it a little bit in Chicago when I was there, and my buddy Rob Belushi and I used to do like a college tour when we were first starting out, and we'd do some stand up to open our improv show. And it wasn't, it's college stand up, so it's just super easy. It's not the same thing. But I think ultimately it just came down to the community that's in improv, or was when I was coming up, at least, was, it was you learn how to be a team player, and stand-ups is very much you're on your own, and it's a tougher road life. You're by yourself. You really have to go on the road and go at it alone. I think just I've always liked team dynamics, and that was something I always responded to. Of it's helpful to know when 6 other people think you're doing something wrong.
Yeah, no, I get it. It's interesting. As a sidebar, I've had other comedians on, and they say that, it's even from one end of the spectrum to the other, like a Bill Engvall. He's like, you go and play a 70,000 seat arena, and then you still have to go to some tiny little hotel out in the middle of nowhere by yourself.
Yeah.
And you have this moment that's a high, and then all of a sudden, and then Matt Walsh on the other end, who's done all of the improv things, he's like, I would prefer to go hang out with a group of people at Denny's at 2 a.m. Than be by myself. American Auto, I could talk to you all day about your craft because I find it so fascinating, but these episodes coming up are very exciting. Before we hit a break, what can we expect from a storyline without spoiling anything? And what can we see from your character, just the ensemble in general?
Sure. In last week's episode, we see, or the week before, actually, we see, Wesley kind of saves the day by remembering his crypto password and being able to be the main investor buyout for the company. And we're still tracking that season-long storyline of getting the stock price back up higher to what it would have been, when Catherine would have bbeen fired earlier in the season. So
Mm.
this last episode is really a great bookend of eye on the prize of getting that stock price up. Also, the Pika, the car, the horrible looking car that we've been talking about forever, is on the precipice of release. And if that goes well, that stock price is going to hit. And Justin Spitzer and the writing staff are so good at breaking stories where just when you think you're focused on one thing, something comes out of left field. And I don't want to give it away, but that's what happens in this episode, where eyes are on the prize for these stories that we've been tracking, and something else happens, and we're again thrown into chaos. And it's he's so good. His shows are so good at finding that sweet spot of having the action be about something, and landing the plane amongst the chaos. And that, I really feel like we did it with this season finale. And
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, just the whole show in general. So you've done other things. Obviously, Superstore comes to mind, and then this
yeah.
and other comedic, dramatic. When it comes to a project that you're presented with either a straight offer or perhaps like an audition process, which is how most things come about for actors, what are you looking for in particular as a storyteller?
At this point, something that feels new or different for
Okay.
me to explore, just from an artist standpoint. And also, a huge part of it is personnel involved. I've been so lucky with having Superstore and American Auto back to back, that the people, like top to bottom on the crew and cast side, are just great and fun to work with. And I know that that's not always the case. So I'm would always want to know who's involved, who's making this, what's their idea for a vision of not just the show, but like how the show will, live, and like what the set life will be like. And that's a huge part of it.
Yes, yes. So you did Superstore, which was wildly popular, hilarious, really funny. That show comes to an end. You find out it's done and you have to start looking for work. Do you know a little bit in advance? I don't want to show everybody completely how the lady is sawn in half specifically, but like, do you kind of know, like, okay, this might be coming to an end, so I'm sort of always looking for what the next project be? And is it hard to come off the high of that character and then just dive right into this project, American Audit?
Yeah, always hard to leave something you love behind that you know is coming to an end, even if it's the right time for it to come to an end. It's really hard. Those You're seeing those people as much as you are your family during the week, and it's tough to walk away from that. The 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 inside baseball of it is it can happen so many different ways. I think, especially with the way the industry is now, it's always smart to be thinking of the next step, but you don't want to get up caught in the trap of like you're thinking of the next 13 steps and you're not
Sure.
enjoying where you are. And I think with Superstar, I really got to a place where I was in, we were all enjoying where we were and just living for that. And for this specific transition into American Auto, I was just really lucky with the timing where Justin was coming out with something new, and I hadn't really been burned off by Superstore, meaning I wasn't like a series regular from the start, and or ever. I was just a guest star on that. So it felt like I was essentially like a free agent available to go into this new project. And I was just really lucky that it all kind of lined up and worked out.
You've had some really great comedic moments in both shows. Superstore, I think of when you're in the break room discussing paychecks with people and you're like, I'm making, six figures a year, and everybody's like, what? And then of course in American Auto, there's several. I think of the hot tub scene where you're in the hot tub with everybody else. When you get presented with those scenes and you have to film them, is it just virtually impossible to not break in either moment? Because I don't know how much is written versus how much is improv, or if it's maybe a marriage of the two.
Like ultimately, like the script that comes in is so close to what you see on TV. These writers are so tight. They are nice and give us room to play and try to find stuff, but it's really tough, especially with American Auto, to beat what's on the page. Superstore, there's a little bit more runway because there was, multiple seasons of that, and like a lot of episodes, and there was, we got a little splashier, I think, about halfway through that series to be able to really take some swings. American Idol is just so tight and so many jokes packed into 22 and a half minutes. In terms of breaking, the hot tub scene you mentioned, I think was the most I ever broke. I think maybe it's because I'm a child and fart jokes are always funny to me.
Yeah, no
but
matter what age. Yeah.
when you're sitting in a hot tub and there's literally a special effects guy who's used to working on crazy huge like Hollywood movies, and he's there now to make sure a fart bubble can come up through the jacuzzi, and that happens every take. I think they maybe, even the take that they have, if you go back and watch that, when that happens, you see me turn to the side, and I think Harriet turned to the other side while the other lines are happening because we were both dying. It was tough to keep it together.
That's fun when you have a show like American Idol where there are funny moments and you can tell that a character or an actor might be on the verge of breaking, but they are somehow able to keep it in, and it just seems like a natural part of what you're doing. Well, this show is so much fun, and you've had some really great moments in it playing this character. I like to always ask, when you play a character like this, have you learned anything about yourself that you maybe didn't see before, or maybe a characteristic you see in the character you're playing that you can just identify with on a visceral level, just as a normal person, and like, hey, I am sort of like this person, or a lot like this person in some way?
Yeah, I guess like this is good because this will double as my therapy session now too. I
That
can
was the
later on.
idea.
But honestly, the instinct Wesley has to weigh in on everything
Yes.
is an instinct I have, just because I love when people share opinions in conversation, and
Yeah.
I hope I have a bit more tact than he does, and I'm coming from a bit more informed place. But he has this instinct to comment on everything, and I am a blabbermouth. And if someone I hear talking about, a TV show they're watching or what they had for dinner last night, I will immediately whip around to that conversation and ask them questions and get into it because I like talking.
That's funny. I think we all know someone who's had every experience in life, done something, and it's kind of like, okay, we get it.
Come on, man. Okay, just
You've lived life a little bit. We understand. Well, one last question here. I
Yeah.
know you've done other things with your brother before. Do you ever hang out, run bits by each other, talk about projects, consider doing something together again? Or obviously you both have wildly successful careers and are doing different things. So it is, I think, a question that people would be interested in.
I think we're always like, in terms of like creating with like, and running things by, he's the first person I go to whenever
That's cool.
I'm about to send out a spec or I have an idea about something and run through it. And same with him, we hang out a lot, and it's not uncommon for our families to be, our wives and kids hanging out, and we're in his kitchen and he's beating out a movie that he has an idea for, or vice versa. And that it's the greatest thing ever to have someone with such a great creative mind to bounce ideas off of. And he's also your brother because he knows you more than anyone else. And it's just, yeah, we're each other's, I think, first go-to for, what do you think about this?
That's very cool. Well, congratulations, Jon. It's been a pure honor chatting with you. We've had you on our radar for a very long time to come on the show. And when the opportunity came, I was like, hell yeah, I would love to talk to him. Congratulations on this, American Idol. It's fantastic. And all the other work that you've done. Have a wonderful day, Jon. Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it.
Thanks a lot. Take care.
You too. Absolutely. Thank you.